273. Good man, guys. Well, why do you guys stand and bask in the glory of all this pomposity and all this wonderfulness? You should remember the pomp and circumstance. You know, I just want to give you guys just a little bit of insight into what's been happening here. So, you know, this is not just a big energy thing here. There's a lot of energy in the room here, but I want to let all of the guests know Great Life is an educational training organization. And our whole purpose and our whole meaning is behind the power of relationship in every form that it possibly takes. These people have been on a 4-day journey to really go inside every core of themselves and their relationship with you. They've been working on the relationship with you by working on the relationship with themselves. And they have gone through many processes, many experiences together. I'm sure they wondered when they walked into the room on Wednesday evening what was going on here. I'm sure they wondered what was happening. And then they saw me. When they saw me, they really took another double take. And so, you know, I just want you to know that they began to investigate all these aspects of themselves and looked at their lives in every possible dimension. And the whole purpose was in some way to enhance the quality of their life, the relationship with themselves and you, and they wanted to expand the results in all areas of their lives. And so we began to undertake that journey on day one. We began to examine their beliefs, their attitudes, their assumptions, and their behavior. We began to examine issues like trust in the relationships. We began to examine all the beliefs they've got that run their lives. We began to examine, what stands in the way of their experience of themselves and others. And so we began to do that. And of course, as they began, there was some trepidation, there was some amazement, there was some shock, there was some confusion, and there was some emotion. And certainly, anytime you get into a relationship, there's always emotion. And so clearly what we do is so very personal. And then on the second day of the journey, they began to get into some other aspects of themselves. They began to share parts of their lives and their past. They began to get into, looking at some of the ways they are in relationship specifically. They began to get some input from others as to how others see them or perceive them, which was illuminating. And I'm sure it was also very sobering. And they began to also just to take a look at what was really them and what they thought was an illusion of them. So over time, what happened was they began to get a real clear picture of themselves. And then on the third day of the journey, and clearly what happened was they began to get even further. They began to examine some of their experiences in life that really had them stuck, really had them really confused and bewildered. And so they really began to examine some parts of their past, and they began to share quite intimately about themselves. It was very, very powerful. And so with that in mind, they began to also get beyond what they consider to be their comfort zone in their life, which is areas where they're familiar. They began to take some risks outside themselves and began to communicate some things they would not ordinarily communicate. And so with that in mind, by the end of day 3, they were clearly exploding beyond what they'd been before. So clearly they've made some major movement. And today was a day really of celebration and looking at what does it take to design my life? What does it take to set my life up where I want, to create the results I want? Because fundamentally, without results, what else is there? Basically, the reasons and results. They learned the distinction between reasons and results, and what it means to be accountable for their lives, and responsible for their lives and their decisions and their choices. They learned all that today, and of course, they began to build a community and bond together as a group. So with that in mind, that's what they've been doing. I will say that they did a stellar job. They have come a long way from day one. Because if you saw them on the first day, it looked like they were drinking Malaya cocktails. Yeah. If you could do a before and after, it would be quite intriguing. So clearly, we did some makeover here. So they're on their way. They're on their way in the first step of the journey. And of course, the Awakenings training is the first step. And the next step is part 2, the Brilliance, which they are headed for, which is about transformation and breakthrough. And of course, down the line, I mean, going to the Great Life, Part 3, which is about execution, application, and internalization of the learning, because where they're headed is how do I internalize all this in daily practice. So that's what we've been doing. So I will not talk any further, but I will turn it over to the class valedictorians. If you have something to say. There's a couple of them that want to say something about their experience. I'm going to turn it over to them. So now I'm going to turn it over, first of all, to the lady in the house, Melissa.
Start playing with it. First off, the registration day, I looked at my best friend who came to my registration with me, and I was just like, what the WT test did you bring me to? Walked into this room and thought, even worse. Did she do? I'm like, I called her that night, I'm like, I tell you I hate you, because I really love you, and I know you're doing this for my best. That first moment, I did make a snap judgment on pretty much everyone, and they sucked the energy out of me, and I'm like, I'm so not like these people. It reminded me of group therapy, and it just sucked the life out of me, and I was just like, okay, just get me through this, please. Midnight comes, you can't come any sooner. And as the next day, I remember coming home in tears because everyone called me on my judgment of them. And they put me in my place, and I applaud them for that. Yesterday, really, it opened my eyes, just being able to experience again with them and releasing energies, releasing past, releasing of, and really getting to know them and myself, really. And experiencing me, really for the first time in probably 25 years plus. I'm not going to age myself. But it was just the most exhilarating experience. And these guys and the staff really, thank you. I really couldn't have gotten through without my best friend. All the staff with my newfound family, and I kept leaning over to a couple of them, okay, whatever they're on, I want some. And I said that to a few of my friends, and thankfully they started sharing. So, thank you.
273 entered these hallowed halls as virtual strangers. We walked in, we saw each other, but we didn't see each other. Each of us came through these doors with packs on our back, with heavy burdens. Some of us got here, some of us were called the Walking Dead, some of us were called soulless, some of us were called comfort zone. We were called many different things, but each of us came with these burdens that we were trying to throw off, get away, to become better people. We came here, as I said, as virtual strangers over the last 4 days. Not only do we see people, but we see them. We see who they are. We see what they represent. We see their potential and what they can become. We, in fact, have become much more of a family as opposed to strangers. Not only that, as we've gone through this training, we've come to realize that there truly are angels among us. So for you angels who sent us here, thank you from us to you. We applaud you. To the staff who have become part of our family as well, for volunteering your time here, for spending the time with us to help us, we thank you. Thank you for everything that you have done. Guys, staff, thank you. Most importantly, Master Drill Sergeant, Wayne, you're an inspiration to all of us. We appreciate you. We know that it's because of your belief and your dedication that you're here to help us. And that's the only reason. Thank you. Thank you so much. As we come to the close of this, like I said, we have become a great family. 273, we are family! We are family! 273, we are family!
Well, let's get it real personal, okay? I want to thank you for sharing what you shared. Let's get it real personal. What we're going to do right now is this. You know, there's nothing better than to have an upfront experience, okay? And what I want to have happen right now is I want all of you, family, friends, guests, graduates, to experience them in a real personal way. And they have some things they want to share with you pertinent to what they experienced. So I will not go on, but I want to have them to share because they're the proof of the pudding. So with that in mind, what we're going to do is let's clear the sides of the rooms out. Let's clear the sides of the rooms out.